It is just a huge honor today to be sitting in my house with two friends for, I don't know, 20, 30 years. How long have we all known each other?
30 plus years.
30 plus years, my God. Did I have hair when we met? Did I? But so right next to my...
And Howard, this wasn't that white either.
That's not white, that's all blonde hair. I'm a natural blonde. I have no gray. So Greg Jack is the CEO of Capacity Management. Throughout his 30 years in the practice consulting industry, Greg Jack has always had a passion for building practice capacity and developing the systems needed to fill it. Early in his career, Greg realized that increasing practice capacity always precedes real practice growth. He was a pioneer in developing the systems and strategies needed to efficiently increase practice capacity by identifying and eliminating key growth blockages. As a result, he has helped thousands of doctors throughout the United States develop larger and more profitable practices. Greg's practice diagnostic skills allow him to quickly fix the root causes that affect practice capacity and profitability. Greg created many of the concepts that are now considered indispensable in running successful practices and remains on the cutting edge of high-growth consulting. Doctors appreciate Greg's professionalism, dedication, integrity, and straight talk. As a result, he has been called the doctor's doctor for practice billing. Let me tell you how far back we all go back. So my idol and mentor in dental school was Craig Steichen, who grew up in Farmington, New Mexico. Is that where you were born and raised?
I was born and raised.
And you actually met another legendary consultant, Greg Stanley.
Right.
He lived there for a few years.
He was living there for a couple of years, and that's where I met Greg originally.
And the reason I love Craig Steichen the most, big shout out to Craig Steichen in Albuquerque, New Mexico, is in dental school, if I did my denture and turned it in, I would get a C. But if I had Craig make my denture for me, I would get an A. So the reason I got so many A's in dental laboratory, because I would do my work for practice, but when I got time for the project to turn it in for a letter grade, Craig Steichen would do it for me. So thank you, Craig Steichen, for helping me cheat all through dental school laboratories. I'm sure you're glad that's on the record and on a podcast on YouTube for definitely. Your great-grandchildren might look you up someday and say, my dad cheated in lab. But, oh, man, he was amazing. In fact, it was so hilarious. One time we had this lab work, and this real nerdy, older professor, he was looking at it and everything. He's just looking at it like it was a dinosaur egg or something. He goes, that is just perfect. Tell Dr. Steichen he did a great job. And I was like, oh, what did I say to that? And you, and tell your story. I'm sorry, I didn't print out a bio on you. We've known each other, Bill, for...
Well, since you started to come over to Whitehall office down in Phoenix to do recordings with Whitehall.
Back when it was audio cassettes.
Back when it was audio cassettes, before we even had CDs.
And tell the millennials what an audio cassette is.
Well, it's the whole thing you stick in your car, yeah. But it was so ancient, we would record it on cassettes, take it down to AVR, he'd put it on reel-to-reel, and we'd sit down and edit it, and he'd edit it with a razor blade.
Wow.
When we edited the tape. The guy who did it would sit there and chain smoke and edit with the razor blade while we were in there doing those things.
I remember my baby Zach is 22, and I remember a long time ago he asked me one day after school, he goes, Dad, what's a CD? I said, a CD? The music, the CD. He goes, I know, but what is it? I was explaining to him. He goes, do you have one? I said, well, sure. So I jumped up, and I couldn't find a CD player. I went out my car, and I was like, God dang, I don't even have a CD player.
How did this happen?
And then some, I have my old VCR tapes, but I can't show them to my grandkids because I don't have a VCR player. And but anyway, so that's where you met Greg Stanley. You worked with Greg Stanley. Is that where you cut your teeth with Greg Stanley?
Yeah, right out of college. I'd grown up with Greg's younger brother, who was working with Greg at the time. Right out of college, I have a degree in journalism, of all things. And they said, well, you want to come to our newsletter? We're starting to do a newsletter. And the rest is just kind of history. I hung around for a long time doing whatever.
Well, what I credit Greg Stanley with this industry more than I think anybody out there is teaching these dentists that they don't have an income problem, they have a spending problem. Mm-hmm. And, it's like, do you remember when we were out here and Keating went bankrupt? Mm-hmm. And the amount of money he made for every year, and when he went bankrupt, they go, well, obviously you have money. He had no money. He had islands and helicopters and jets. And you looked at his yearly income for 30, 40 years. He didn't save a penny. In fact, he had tons of debt. And it's like a normal person could have made that money for 1 year, and his entire pedigree would have been set for life.
Well, it could have been municipal bonds and just lived off the interest.
Yeah, and you know, these dentists, and what's weird, it's a disease. It's a cat chasing its tail, because they become a doctor, so they attract some young girl who's impressed. Oh my God, I'm going to marry a rich doctor. So now they got a spender who's unemployed. And then his ego says, well, I can't have an average house. Got to have a bigger house. Well, then that means you can't go camping to the lake. You got to go to London, Paris, and France. And you can't drive an old Chevy. You got to drive a Benz or a Mercedes. So it's just this disease. Mm-hmm. And you still see them in debt at 65 years old. I know dentists who, after they were 60, upgraded their house on a 30-year mortgage. Like, dude, are you going to live to be 90?
And have income the whole time?
And it's across the board in with everybody. I'll never forget that book, The Millionaire Next Door, where it was 2 PhDs, and the occupation that had the most millionaires as a percentile. Do you remember what it was? School teachers. And the reason it was school teachers because, well, I'm just a poor school teacher. I'm going to live in a modest house. I'm going to buy a Chevy, not a Cadillac, and we'll go camping at the lake, not fly off in an airplane or go on a cruise. So their mindset is, I'm a poor teacher, but they had the discipline to put away their monthly retirement deal. And when they were 65, they were the most likely to be a millionaire. And then doctors, dentists, lawyers, most likely to be spending problems.
Right.
But anyway, enough of me talking. So what's got both of you guys passionate for today? What's flipping your flipper these days?
What I wanted to kind of share with your group is the name capacity management was born out of when I would take on a practice, and the way we started early on was Greg Stanley went into money management, and I started Whitehall with Greg, and about 6-8 months later I stayed practice building and he stayed money management.
So you were a founder of Whitehall Management? Mm-hmm. Wow.
For a few months.
Oh, just a few months?
There wasn't enough money to go around, Howard. So
yeah.
I started doing practice building. So at the inception of Whitehall, for probably first 5, 6, 7 years, all Greg did was money management. And then I always did the practice building.
And you know what the problem with the name back then when you guys started, I still remember? I have Whitehall was the Capitol building. It was like the White House of England, right? Mm-hmm. So we have the White House. They have the Whitehall, right?
That's not where it came from, though.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
good.
That's
good now.
But everybody thought it was some Sterling management thing.
Right. And a lot of people thought.
Do you remember that back then?
And Bill, a lot of people thought it was his name. They'd say that Greg Whitehall guy.
Talk to Mr. Whitehall.
Why did they think it was Sterling management?
I don't know.
That's weird.
But do you remember that back in the day?
I remember Sterling, yeah.
Or did they think it was like Scientology?
Yeah, well, Sterling management was.
I know, that's what I mean.
Scientology.
Did they think Whitehall was too? I didn't.
For some reason they confused. Scientology had a dental division of Sterling Management, and then they thought Greg was part of that. Or Whitehall Management was part of that. I don't know. Sterling Management, Whitehall, anyway. But where did the name come from?
Another person that Greg and I were starting all of this with he was a big proponent of Ayn Rand, and in Atlas Shrugged, there was a company called Whitehall that went around and fixed the other companies and made them cleaned up so that they could perform. So the vision was that Whitehall would be this company who would come in and sterilize these companies and make sure they were highly profitable.
Wow.
That's really where the name came from.
And you know what Atlas Shrugged and Woodstock have in common? If every American who said they went to Woodstock would have been there would have been like 100 million people at the concert, you know?
100%
of all the people I've ever met in my life say, oh yeah, I'm a big Ayn Rand fan. I loved Atlas Shrugged. Okay, well, I read Atlas Shrugged. Just ask him just ask him any freaking question on the book that no one's ever read the book. And then after about the third question, so you read the book? And well, tell me what you do remember the book. Smaller government. Okay, that's a concept, but tell me about the book. No, everyone who said they've read Atlas Shrugged, shit, it's the size of the Bible.
Well, but it's a grind to read through it because it's the same book three times.
Yeah,
it's like the book within the book, and
yeah. So you actually read it? Did you get through the whole damn thing?
I don't remember.
You know what my secret is to reading these books. Some of these, when I was raising 4 kids, and you come home and all you hear is dad, 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 dad. And these books and try to get into it and everything. And I lecture, I've lectured in Australia, New Zealand, and all these deals. And all these people, oh my God, you're flying to LA, then you have, or New York, then you have a 15-hour flight to New Delhi. And I said, man, they go, you can take a sleeping pill? No. I'm going to get an 800-page book that's impossible to read in my lifestyle. The greatest book I ever read I had a hard time with understanding monetary supply. And my MBA teacher said, you got to read the book, Secrets of the Temple. And he goes, but it's freaking as big as the Bible. And so I flew to LA, caught my layover on the way to Sydney, Australia. It's a 15-hour flight. And I told the flight attendant, look, I don't want to eat because I'll get sleepy and tired and fall asleep. No alcohol, nothing. I just want black coffee. If you got the coffee pot, you walk by and it's all the way filled, just tap it off. I started it on the tarmac. I finished it right when the pilot was saying, we are descending. 15-hour trance.
Wow.
Reading this Secrets of the Temple 800-page book, and that's where I've read all my like I'll get a book, Mish's new book, Complications in Implant Dentistry, or Pathways to Evolve by Stephen Cohen's, like 14th edition. Them are 800-page books. Well, you just can't sit down and read an 800-page dental textbook,
right.
But you can if you're flying 15 hours from New York to New Delhi in first class. You've got a nice big seat, you got a light. And that's where I read all the long distance stuff. Sorry to interrupt with that rant.
Right. That's all right.
But that's it. I want to tell that story because that's the cheapest, fastest way to learn knowledge. These millennials, they want to learn one little thing on occlusion. So they fly across the country in an airplane, stay in a resort, drop $3,000 on the weekend, and come back with 2 pages of notes. I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure on Dental Town we have a course that covered all of that for $18 for 1 hour. What was your cab fare from the airport to the resort? $27. Well, you would have saved $10 if you stayed at home. But the textbooks, I mean, the greatest knowledge in any subject, pediatric, endo, peri, anything, the most expensive textbook, maybe $200. And there'll be 800 pages with 1,000 pictures. But they don't want to sit in a chair and read it for $200. Right. They want to learn 5% of that information on a $3,000 weekend course. So what's got you passionate now? You've been in this game 30 years. It's a changing game. Where's the game of dentistry?
And throughout all of that time, I found that if we could accomplish something with an office, that would induce the high referral factor. Just
the
like
what?
The high referral factor.
High referral factor.
Just like in your practice, if patients get a product, they get served right, if they have a good experience, they're prone to refer. So early on, I said, I don't want to be that guy who has to go out and spend a fortune marketing. So right after Greg and I started Whitehall, I developed capacity management. He stayed Whitehall, and we went down similar tracks. And we'd refer back and forth to each other. But when somebody said to Greg, I don't have enough money to complete my plan and to get out of debt, then I'd show up. And I'd show them how to make more money. So I never was talented at telling people how to spend their money, how to save their money, or where to go invest it. I was always the guy who showed people how to make more money. So I was in the trenches. I was always in practices. So I have been in and out of thousands of practices. But the thing that, Howard, that I think really hit me early on was the concept of capacity. And you've talked about that because I've listened to you over the years. You understand capacity. They'd say, Greg, I want more new patients. And I'd say, well, you're getting about 30. And that's producing this size practice. They go, I just need more new patients. Don't talk to me about anything else. It's okay. So we'd do marketing. The new patients would go up. Collections stay the same. So they'd still have limited capacity on the front. They'd still have the inability to process a new patient. And then when they'd go up front, they didn't have a closer who could put the production in the book. So I'd go in and I say, my job is to spot blockages. And when I spot a blockage, fix that and know which one's the most important. So my concept, Howard, over the years that served me super well, is it's like if you have a pipe of water and it's coming up the pipe this way, it'll go automatically because of the pressure till that first blockage. Now, many times you don't know what it is. Doctors, because they're in the game, seldom will be able to know what that blockage is to pull that pin and let it go to the next level. Now, back in the day, people would get all lathered up over, Greg, tell me how many people do I need at my front desk? Or come in and look at my office because I think my girls are wasting time. My team isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so most of my career, I have gone in and watched it move. And just like there's something that is somewhat intuitive, but I would look at that and go, it's that. And they go, what? No, you were supposed to come out and give me more new patients. I go, mm-hmm. But if you don't fix that, it doesn't matter what we do for new patients. So part of my diagnostic skill, doctor's been find out what that critical blockage is. The fixing it has always been fairly easy. So I've never had a problem figuring out what to do and when. The diagnostic side, once you got that done, then you say, oh, it's that person, and she really doesn't want to be here. And she's angry, and she's the one that's kind of the face on your practice. So I might say, Doc, the best thing for you to do is she needs to go somewhere else. Or they didn't have enough at the front, or they didn't have anybody processing their new patients. They didn't put a face on it that would make somebody, the old adage, stay, pay, and refer. And so doctors want the practice to get larger, more profitable, but most of the time, they're so deep in the forest, they can't see what needs to be fixed, first, second, third, fourth. So as capacity management, I knew that if I could double your practice, I'd always have clients. So my calling card's always been, and so I work with somebody, and they go, I got 2 guys I went to dental school with. They're kind of struggling. Would you talk to them? And so I've always had a really thriving practice without having to spend fortunes in marketing. And maybe I should have. It would have been a better branding tool. But my point is, I've never had to do that. So I'm highly referred because of that thing I learned to do early on was to spot capacity. And I've heard you talk about this capacity issue. You go into a grocery store, there's 12 lanes, but only 2 are open. And the normal person would go, well, that's really inefficient to have all 12 lanes open with cash registers. Why do they spend that money? Go in there on a Saturday afternoon, and they're all rocking. So a doctor who wants to get a certain size practice, there is an equation that follows that pattern. There's a certain number of ops, there's a certain number of people, and then you have the capacity to move forward. So it never ends. I've had clients that I've worked with for 10 years. They're still clients of mine. They're big producers. And I ask them, why do you still pay me? And they say, Greg Jack, when you come to our office, I'm always amazed. You'll come out and you'll watch the machine move. Then we go to dinner that night. What'd you see? I'll bring up 2 or 3 things. And they go, and we go fix those, and then it all smooths out. So I'm a spotter at times. I'm a diagnostician at times. The solutions, Howard, I believe, are easy to come by. So let's say that somebody was having difficulty hiring the right staff, training the right staff. Is there not 100 places they could go on Dental Town and get the best info they need to know how to fix those? Information's everywhere. You have done a fabulous job at assembling that, and you're the go-to place. So if I said, I need to know how to do this, I can go there and I can get whatever I need to. You don't have to run off and do a 4-day seminar to learn how to get your team built. If you had let's say a doctor had a concern and said, I got to figure out how to incentivize my team. Oh, some of the best information out there I could read on bonus, and I could put something together. Now, I might go in and diagnose that your bonus is ill-constructed. It's de-incentivizing people. They hate it. They don't like it. And I change those out many times. Sometimes I'm in there, and it really is about... I was in a practice, I guess 30 days ago, and it's a big practice in Scottsdale. And it's a great practice. I've worked with them for years and years. Bill did some time with them too. And you know what's interesting? they're wigging out because they have a bonus that when they hit 300, it doubles. And they were like going, well,
300 what?
300,000 a month in collections. And I kept saying, well, if you hit 250, 280, 260, I said, why are you guys not hitting 3? So anyway, Howard, I went back and I watched them, and they had these goals set out for what they're supposed to produce. And I go, I'm on my calculator on my phone, I go, that doesn't match 3. Because you got to do about 350 to land it in the right number for collections. And they go, yeah, but that's our number. But it doesn't get you there. See, I believe that, and this happened. So the entire team got their head together and said, wow, these doctors need X number in restorative and so much in hygiene. And we calculated all that 2 months in a row since then. They've gone over 3. See, the whole team has a consciousness to look at a schedule and go, Dr. Farran expects me to put 25,000 on that book today. How are we going to do that? Well, see, then coaching comes in. Then I can say, where are you going to get that? Do you have enough hygiene to drive 25 G's in production, legitimate production? So my point being, Howard, is if you do not get all of those things moving in the right direction, then it's very difficult to hit that number. When I go to a new doctor that's doing 70, 80 grand, and he goes, yeah, I met one of your doctors. They're like doing, 350, 400. And they go, they've either got to be a lousy dentist, they're cheating somebody. You can't do that. And I go, in your paradigm, that's true. Because see, they're sitting there on, 2 ops, empty rooms in the other 2 that they had plumbed for it. They got one hygienist that shows up 2 days a week, and they don't have anybody up front that could close a case. And they go, you can't do 300,000. You can't do 400,000 in collections. I have single doctors with one associate doing 350, 400 all the time. What I'm saying, Howard, is it doesn't. They in their mind they're going
one doctor, one associate, or just
right.
one doctor.
One doctor and an associate.
Doing
most
300
of the
a month?
single guys are 250. Yeah, in that 250 range.
So most of your single guys do 250.
Right.
And a single guy as an associate does 350.
Right. 350 to 4.
And all the published research on speed shows that speed correlates to higher quality. So Regina Hertzlinger out of Harvard shows that she'll go study 10 guys that do appendectomies. And your surgery time is 5 minutes, yours is 10 minutes, mine is 15. The failure rate correlates straight with it. Mm-hmm. Because, look at general dentists. The endodontists do their molar in an hour. The general dentists do an hour and a half. Who do you think does a better job? The oral surgeon removes all 4 wisdom teeth in 20 minutes. The general dentist takes an hour to remove
right.
one. Guess who gets more paresthesias? So it's called the focus factory when you talk to a PhD economist. And the people,
You know how hard that is? You do, because you're in the business. That is so difficult. Bill will remember years ago, Greg Stanley used to talk about that, how doctors will hide behind quality to throw you off the trail that they have a problem.
Oh
with
yeah,
their
you want a slow.
It's a hide behind.
You want a very slow, dumb, and stupid doctor doing surgery on you.
Right.
You want a guy that does a bypass in 6.5 hours. You don't want the guy that can go in there and do it in 40. Because the guy doing it in 40 has a trained team. They've done all the CE. They have all the equipment. They know every movement is purpose. They go in there and they do it in 30 minutes. And then dumbass takes 2.5 hours. And have you seen the mortality rate of bypasses? They're paid for by Medicaid and Medicare, so they have to track their 24-hour mortality rate. And in America, a bypass, the doctor has anywhere between a 1 and 11% 24-hour mortality rate. And then your friend will say, "Oh yeah, go to Jimmy. He's the best cardiologist in town. What's his 24-hour mortality rate? I don't know. Is he board certified? I don't know. How many people has he killed in the last year? I don't frickin' know." So then why are you referring? Because you're a freaking monkey. the difference between a 1 and 11% mortality rate also correlates with speed. There's research on that. So the guys that are in there doing the fastest are closer to the 1% mortality rate, and the slowest are 11%. Right.
See, when I have a client, we're consulting with them, and I said, you really got to speed up. So you go to courses, you study, you want to do whatever you got to do to learn how to cut that crown in less time. Because in a schedule, they'll put an hour and a half in there. And I go, so how much is the doctor time out of that hour and a half? alternative staff, because they're the ones that know, and they'll say, he's with that patient an hour. I go, what? Most of my offices schedule patient time an hour, and the doctor's time's about 10, 15 minutes to cut a crown. The team member then, Howard, on the backside of that, building the temp and doing those kind of things, then that hits. So I go to a doctor, and all I'm trying to do is move them from an hour and a half to an hour to 45. See, we want to schedule for high profitability, and you just put cement on what I've always believed and known. So the new doc comes to me and he goes, Greg, I know you got guys that can cut a crown in 15 minutes. I want to tell you right now, it'll be junk. And I got to tell you, when that crown comes back, it won't fit. I go, what? So I've got people like, I'll just mention his name, John Buzza. He teaches for Coyce. Super sharp guy, John Buzza.
How do you spell his name?
B-U-Z-Z-A.
B-U-Z-Z-A. Is he Italian or Italian?
Sure. He's all Italian, believe me.
And
He's
there's
a
a couple of pizza.
So, anyway, this guy is so phenomenal in that he understands that concept, that speed and quality aren't, in other words, quality is not driven by how much time you take. It's that guy who says, now, heaven forbid, Howard, that you and I would ever go eat at McDonald's. But let me ask you this question. If you ever did do that, wouldn't you rather go when they're serving crowds of people and rocking through their system? Or do you want to wait till 3 o'clock in the afternoon when that booger's been sitting under that lamp for 2 hours? So as bad as that is, they understood capacity. So my point being is, when you're trying to help a doctor kick it in the pants and really get a practice that they can say, this is the one I wanted, it all comes back to what are the blockages and knowing what they are. Now, if treatment time is a blockage, there's thousands of ways to get that fixed. If it's team, which is typically more often than not, then you've got to really understand and learn what you need to do to have that team that'll back your play. And so years ago, when I first met Paul, he and I had worked on a couple of agreements for doctors. And that's where I met Paul, at Cedar. Paul, and so my point being is, I think the clarity is we're in the people business. You're a dentist serving dentistry to people. You are in the people business because you're a dentist working with your team, and vice versa. We're all in the people business, and if you don't know how to handle people, the rest of it doesn't work. Because I've had practitioners, Howard, who come to me and they say, Greg, I was first in my class. And if that guy down the street, he wouldn't even have a license, Greg Jack, if I had not helped him through school. Look at his parking lot. Look at mine. I'm smarter. My gold work is unbelievable. Tell me why he's successful 3 times what I am. I go, because we're in the people business. And he learns how to sell dentistry. And he learns how to give patients the confidence to be treated by him. So I said, if you really want to have a practice that knocks it out of the park, I'm proposing that you learn how to deal with people and learn the nuances of that. So a doctor who is a jerk to his staff and can't really learn what they need and what they want and how to get them trained up, they leave and go somewhere else. And so that guy down the street had a rocking staff that would take a bullet for him. They were trained. They knew how to answer the phone. They knew what to say to a patient when that handoff came from back to front. They knew exactly to get that inaural picture up on that screen, to be able to get the x-rays up there so that the back office would hand off by saying, Dr. Jones is really concerned about that tooth 28. There's the picture, and he wants Julie to have a copy to take home. But that's the tooth we're worried about. And I want you to know, doctor's very concerned and said, get her in here tomorrow morning. Do whatever you got to do to make that schedule work. And we've already said that in front of her, right? But this is another handoff. And if the front grabs that and they can't close that case, you get the wrong person. Now, I believe that there's a few things you can get a team member to learn. We can all get better. There's no doubt about that. But Howard, you can't take somebody who is timid, unsure, doesn't want to be speaking to that patient, keeps their head down, not look a person in the eye, and get them to buy a $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000 case. It's just hard. So what they do is they go out and they hire people like them, who typically aren't more on the sales side. See, I've watched you for years. I think you could sell ice cubes to Eskimos. You're a people person. When you used to come to, and I'd watch you when you'd come to the White House and do that, it would throw Greg Stanley into a fit just because he was always afraid of what you were going to say. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my
and
God.
Bill and I would be back there going, okay, here it comes. Then you'd say something, Greg go, oh God, like I'm going to get hundreds of letters.
But you know why it's better now? You know why it's better now? Because now my reputation's out there. So this I just got invited to some old pro selling society, and the guy said, well, you can't have him, he'll piss off half the people. And the guy said, yeah, but those half already know who Howard Farran is, and they won't show up.
Well, and then the other, but in truth, people will show up and say, that's who he is, and I love it, and they'll come anyway. So what I'm saying is, if you really want your practice to be bigger or more profitable is what I always like. Because, yeah, as a consultant, I don't put my stock in. In other words, if you said, Greg Jack, why should I pay you? Because right now, you're barely taking home 15 grand a month. And you're leveraged to the hilt. So if you want to take home 75 to 100 grand a month and do
well,
700,000, 800,000 a year.
15 grand a month. Here's the problem I have done. $15,000 a month times 12 is $180,000 a year. What I think is appalling is how many dentists think that they should get the Mahatma Gandhi Mother Teresa of the Year award because they only made $180,000 a year. What percent of America would trade their job to make $180,000 a year?
Most.
When you say most, give me a number between 1 and 100.
I'd say probably 85, 90% of people.
So first of all, your expectations are off the freaking charts.
And Howard, even people in medicine, other formats of medicine, you take a surgeon or somebody, even though they make a lot of money, they hate their life. They want to do it until they can get the money made and get out. Because they're talent people, they're doing surgeries, they run that high risk, they're up all night. I have a set of trauma surgeons I worked with in the past, and they made incredible money. But they were all, Greg Jack, tell me when I get here, because I'm out. I go, don't you like what you do? No. I tell people, people die, I have to go to their family, you know what I'm saying? And they said, my life is, I'm on call 24/7. Some big auto accident, I'm in there. They hate it.
Yeah.
Dentistry, they get to go at 7 to 4. Howard.
And there's another weird, bizarre thing about expectations. Not only is $180,000, but when you put in an implant, a lot of you people are complaining that after 5 years, 20% have peri-implant. But there's orthopedic surgeons that live within a block of my house where they'll put in a hip, and the lady will die 3 months later of a staph infection. When they put in an artificial knee or a hip, they're telling you, hopefully you can get 5 to 10 out of this. Then a dentist has an implant fail after 8 years and he's ready for psychiatric treatment. And it's like, how many implants have you placed where the lady died of a staph infection? I can't say this occupation, but another really good friend of mine, right up the street from me, got an artificial hip. He got a staph infection. He was in the hospital on IV, gentamicin and all that stuff. He didn't get out of the hospital for half a year. And then here's a dentist. He's walking the plank because his implant didn't integrate. It's like, dude, lighten up. And the other thing about all my physician friends, when they get out of school, they'll go get a job at the hospital and they'll say, okay, you're going to work Monday and Thursday, and that's each day's a 24-hour shift. So you're going to get here at 6 a.m. at St. Joe. And you leave 6 a.m. the next morning. You come back Thursday, do it again. Then you hire a dentist from AT Still or Midwestern and say, well, Mondays and Wednesdays, you just stay till 7. Stay till 7?
What?
Yeah.
Are you out of your freaking mind? And once a month you have to work a Thursday from 8 to noon. No way. I'm into that work-life balance, and it includes me being the laziest son of a bitch in the entire valley.
So you just identified another hide behind, right? Yeah. In other words, and the same thing with implants. So if I've got a young guy and he says, Greg, I really want to be on the upper edge, profitability, I say, you need to learn to do implants. You need to learn to do a lot of that stuff yourself instead of referring everything out. And they go, no, I've read. I know a lot about implants. And Greg, they fail all the time. I'm not going there. And I go, well, don't you think you could learn how to do them? I mean, you have a dental degree. Certainly you learn to do something. Come on, let's go learn how to do them. Go take the right courses, figure it out. But they hide behind that because they don't want to take that risk. Well,
when did you get into dentistry? What year was that?
Probably 79, 80, about 80.
So how many years that's 79. So let's say 2017 minus what? 1979?
Probably 80. I'd say 80. Yeah, 80.
So you've been in this 30 years. You see what we're doing here? You're not even 38 years old watching this. You got out of school at 25. I bring these guys in. And how many practices have you seen in 38 years?
I would say probably 47, 4,800, somewhere in that neighborhood.
So you've seen 5,000 practices, and you only see yourself. Dude, I'm always telling you, the most successful people are humble and hungry. Humble means you're not I'm a doctor, I know everything, I'm a doctor, everything. No, humble is you barely know how your own office works, and they've seen 5,000 offices 40 years. We've been doing all the talking. What are you seeing these days? What are you most passionate about?
Well, since I work with Greg, I mean, we really are big on.
You only work for Greg. You work for.
I only work for
Greg Stanley
Greg.
for 2 decades.
That's the first rule: is they have to be named Greg for whatever
reason. They have to have 2 first names.
They have to
Greg
have 2
Jack and Greg Stanley. Yeah.
Oh, right on. So how long have you been in this industry?
It's about 87, 88.
And you're you're an amazing man. I mean, I've been listening to you, so it's the audio was at days. But what do you see in this industry? What are you passionate about? How are you seeing the problems? How are you helping people?
Well, basically, it's about helping them realize that in order to achieve growth, they've got to make the capacity first. I mean, because so many doctors go like, I'm doing the 40,000 or 50,000. When I hit the bigger numbers, then I'll add the operatory. Then I have the money. And he was like, well, no, it doesn't work that way. You've got it backwards. You've got to buy the operatory. Take the leap of faith, and then you get the money. It's like taking what's this hold, 16 ounces? And the doctor says, when you can show me how to fill that with 24 ounces, then I'll get you a bigger bottle. Well, it's like you got to buy the big bottle first.
I think a lot of it is because they understood Henry Ford's assembly line, and they don't realize the difference in product versus service. Where if your analysts say, okay, we'll probably sell 1 million Ford Tauruses a year, then I'm going to build a factory that knocks out 83,333 cars a month. Well, everything's uniform. A service is not an iPhone, a mug, or a car. It comes in flows. So you're at Barnes & Noble, and you have 12 checkout lanes. Only one person's working because they're all wrapped up in the movie It. And then It lets out, and all these people don't want to go back home. Yeah. They got a babysitter. They wander into the bookstore, and they see the movie let out, and a big flow of people came in, and they get on the deal, and they say, I need all checkers to the front, all checkers to the front. So you were cleaning up, you were vacuuming, you were stocking books, you were ordering books. You leave all that task, you run to the front, because if I grab a book and I get in line and there's 6 people in there, I'm just going to leave. I'm not going to stand in line for 6 people. You mentioned grocery stores. Another one is banks. There's 168 hours in a week. Banks have 3 drive-thrus. They only use 1 for 160 hours. But on Friday, when everybody gets a paycheck, they open up all 3 lanes and they work the flow. And we have showed them data for 25, 30 years that the dentist, that you add chairs until you have a chair that no one schedules for. Like they'll say, oh, we have extra capacity, we have room 4. Dude, there's people scheduled in all 4 of those rooms. You have to have an extra operatory, and you have to have an extra operatory that no one sat in one time every other day. You go into every office and you call up, I'd like to make an appointment. They're looking for a chair. I go into the dentist, they're on dental time. What are you doing back here? You're not making any money back here. Well, Amy has to dismiss that patient, then clean up the room, then set up the next room, and then go get the next patient and seat it. So I'm going to sit back here being a dumbass for 20 minutes. It's like, dude, your cost is 35%, your staff's 25%, lab's 10%, supplies 6%, rent 5%. Operatories ain't even on your overhead sheet. And I always see the number one expense 53.5% go to human beings in the average dental office, and they're always standing around waiting on a chair.
On a space.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. And then sorry to give it a and then every damn dentist says, well, I don't have room for an operatory. It's like, really? It seems like you're always in a break room waiting for an op, or you're in your private room waiting for an op. I see 2 operatories right there.
Right.
Get rid of your damn break room, get rid of your damn office, and then talk to me.
Then make a space so you can fill it up. And well, what we see is, it kind of comes back to the whole thing about, this is a people business. And the doctors and people, there's what we used to call peak demand times. It's like for hygiene. It's not steady through the day. People want to come see their hygienist because they got to do it every 6 months. They want to come before work or after work. They want to do it around their regular job. I don't want to take a day of vacation or sick day to come see my hygienist since I do it every 6 months. So there's that peak demand time in the afternoon. The doctors go, oh no, we just tell people when they need to come in and they'll just come in. It's like, maybe once or twice, but for regular visits.
Yeah, and then that same dentist
they
will
move
say,
on. They'll move on
after
to
he makes
somewhere
that
else.
comment, he'll say, how do you get rid of no-shows and cancellations? Quit scheduling, quit giving them shit that didn't ask
It's
for.
time they don't want, yeah.
When would you like to come in? I'd like to come in today. Well, how about tomorrow at 3? All right. And then tomorrow at 3, they don't come in. I say, because they
Found
typed
somebody
in,
else.
the #1 search in dentistry is dentist near me. So, you can't get me in until tomorrow at 3. Okay, take that, just in case. Just in case everyone else can't, then they type in dentist near me, and then someone will get them right down.
And they get them right in.
And
that's their dentist.
early on, too, Dr. Farran, we knew early on where dentists would come to me and they would say, I'm booked out 2 weeks. And I go, what does that mean to you? And he goes, well, I'm good. I'm booked out 2 weeks. And I'd say, doctor, let me explain something to you. You have a perception that if you're booked out 2 weeks, that you're really good. Patients don't care that you're booked out 2 weeks. You know what they care about? That tooth hurts right there. And I need somebody to take care of that. And I said, so the minute you can get somebody to do and get them in same day, Howard, anybody in pain at my offices, they're in same day. We do same day dentistry. We don't get.
But how many weeks out is Walmart booked?
Yeah, really.
How many weeks out is the Hyatt Regency booked?
Yeah, really.
The Hilton. Nobody's booked out. And that's what the dentist said. Well, we see all of our same day emergencies. So they'll call them and say, yeah, I really like to get my teeth clean because I got a job interview tomorrow. Well, that's not an emergency. Emergency is sensitive to hot and cold, waking up at night, taking aspirin. So they define their perverted emergency when a human is what's emergency to them is what they want now.
Right.
And then you say, and then when you're booked, and here's the dead giveaway on his capacity. The minute your receptionist says, well, I can't have you come in and give me money today. You're going to have to get in line and wait 1 day to give me. The minute you say you have to get in line to come in and give you money, then I already know what's going to happen. That's your plateau. So 10 years later, you'll be doing the same amount. Because once you say, I can't take your money today, stand in line and wait, and I'll take your money. I don't care if you're booked 1 day, a week, 2 weeks, a month. It doesn't matter. Once you tell them you have to stand in line and wait to give you money, that's the end of your growth. So,
and they never see that sometimes because people go like, okay, like you said, they'll say, okay, I'll stand in line. And then they just go find somebody who gets them in.
People do that with restaurants. I was eating, and usually you'll go to eat at a restaurant around here. There's usually 4 or 5 right in the area. And I watched a guy come in and get the little beeper or the little thing. And he goes, yeah, okay, it's a 20-minute wait. All right. And he walked. And he walked right over to the next restaurant, and I watched him because we were standing out front waiting like idiots. And he goes next door, and he gets another beeper. And there was like a 40-minute wait. Then he came back and got another one. And he said there were 3 beepers. He was just waiting to see which one was going to pop first, and that's where they were going to eat. Patients don't want to wait. But see, that's another hide behind. Because the doctor's going, I am so good, Greg, that I booked out 3 weeks. And I go, wow. See, I see that as a capacity blockage. Fix that, and when the phone rings, your team is looking at, man, I need somebody to be in that hole on that schedule right now because that's going to turn into same-day dentistry, and I got to get 25 G's on my book today.
And let me show you how your hour and a half for a crown is insane. So 30 years ago, I charged $1,000 for a crown, sent it to Delta Dental, and they paid half of it. I charged $1,000 for a root canal, sent Delta Dental, and they paid 80% of it. Those days are gone. Now they send me the fee, and I think a fee for each one of those is about $650. So when your PPO reduces the fee by 40%, you got to go 40% faster. But I just want to walk you through 2 crowns. One guy.
Farran, would you say that again? It's really important to me what you just said.
When you accept a fee reduction PPO that's 40% cheaper, you have to do it 40% faster. And let me tell you why your hide behind of being lazy, dumb, and slow is all. That's your thought. No one else. You can't get Regina Hertzlinger, a PhD medical economist from Harvard University, to buy into your bullshit. Let me show you what I see. Let me see what I see. You got 2 doctors, and one doctor gets $1,000 for a crown. He doesn't take any insurance at all, and he just gets $1,000 for a crown, books an hour and a half. The other dentist is this lowlife that takes a PPO and is doing the crown for $600, but he schedules doctor time 30 minutes. So he walks in there and numbs, and he numbs with septicane instead of lidocaine. Septicane's 4%, lidocaine's 2%, and numbs it in 4 minutes, but he doesn't get up and leave. He sits down there, and next he takes the shade. And then he sits there and he takes an impression for the temporary. And when he did the septicane, he set a timer for 4 minutes. When it goes ding, it's already numb. He's already got an impression for a temporary. He's already taken the shade, filled the lab script. Then he packs a 0 cord, then a 1 cord. Pushes down the tissue down and out. The best way to stop bleeding is not to start it. Then he takes out the interproximals, the reduction, and he gets his whole prep done. No bleeding. Then he makes a temporary. When you get done, you just leave and have the assistant make temporary. Well, hell, you've already taken a final impression. You work everything out in your temporary. So he makes a temporary with an assistant. It only takes like 5 minutes. He gets the impression. He's got his 3.5 loops on. He's carving it back. You realize that margin's not quite right. Looks in the tooth. Yeah, it isn't quite right. You learn so much in your impression, in your temporary. So then he refines his prep, starts temporary number 2. And then he's making number 2, and he's like, that's a good impression. If you can pick it up in your temporary, you can pick it up in your impergum. So then he's adjusting the occlusion, and he goes through. See, when you get a reduction coping every month for your whole frickin' 40 years, it's because you took the impression after you made your temporary. You make the temporary first. You learn everything in your temporary. So then he goes through there and goes, oh my God, don't have enough reduction. Maybe there's a plunger cast, fix that. Now he's on the 3rd impression, temporary. He's got the margin, got the occlusion, perfect. Now let's take an impergum. Well, that's setting up for 5 minutes. I'm going to go do a hygiene check. I come back, I pull that, I look at the deal, perfect. I cement the temporary, gone in 30 minutes. So he makes $600 every 30 minutes. So 3, 6, 9, 6, 12. He makes $1,800 in 90 minutes. And you make $1,000 until 82% of America, 82% of your patients in your draw area that are visiting dentists. If you have dental insurance, you're more likely to visit the dentist. And so you're making $1,000. He's making $1,800. And then when you get the crown back, it has a reduction coping. Yours doesn't fit because you didn't even work out your problem. So it's just, I mean, some of the biggest producers I see in the world are faster. Another one, the oral surgeon, does all 4 quadrants all day long. I know dentists all day long that if you have 5 fillings, numbs up all 5, does it. For some weird, crazy reason, you're like, well, we'll do 1 on this appointment, schedule a whole hour for it, and then come back in 2 weeks, and we'll do 1 over here. By the time you come back 3rd appointment, who the shit wants to go back to the dentist 3 times in 1 month? So they never even come and get it done. Whereas other dentists say, it's not the PPO fee. You say, well, I used to get $250 for a filling, but this PPO is only giving me $200. That doesn't even matter. That's a unit price. It's got to be a time price. So it's $200. I don't care if it's $200 for a filling, $150, $300. It doesn't matter. You got 7 fillings, and I'm going to schedule 1 hour and knock out all 7. Well, hell, if they're only $100 a piece, that's a $700 hour. There are $200 a piece, that's a $1,400 hour. I mean, but you're like, well, I can only do 1 at a time. You have to come in 9 times. Just knock that shit out. It's not the PPO fee schedule. It's how much you produce per hour. And then for the 50% overhead, you walk in there, you have your break-even point for the day, but your entitled staff won't do it because they're guaranteed a lunch at noon. My staff goes to lunch after we paid the bills. And they'll have a cancellation 11, all sit around and do nothing, and then at 12 go to lunch when there's people at 11:15 saying, I broke my tooth. Their staff's like, well, you could come on down right now. Oh, but you're entitled staff. It's only dental offices and the Department of Motor Vehicles say, we're entitled to a lunch at 12, even if we're losing money, and then at 5 o'clock we're going home. You know how many threads are on Dental Town? How do you temporize someone in severe pain when they come in and it's 4:30 and you're leaving at 5? Well, maybe you just don't leave at 5, asshole. Maybe when a fireman shows up to a house on fire, they don't say, okay, well, should we even get the hoses out? Because
it's almost quitting time.
It's almost quitting time, and Jesus Christ, and I mean, this baby's just gonna have to burn.
There you go.
I mean, Dennis. I mean, I love you guys, but I don't love you if I sugarcoat it and tell you what you want to hear. You want everybody to hear, oh, I feel sorry for you, oh, poor thing. Oh, you have student loan indebtedness when there's 220 countries. You can only borrow other people's money in the 20 richest countries. You can't get $300,000 in student loans in Somalia, in Ethiopia, in Afghanistan, in Syria, where you're born a peasant, you'll die a peasant. You got access to other people's money. It's not the government's fault that you took student loan money and went on spring break in Florida and bought an $80,000 Honda Accord. You've been in more airplanes before you got out of dental school than the average American ever did in their entire lifetime. Sure. I know a 52-year-old lady patient who's all nervous because she's flying for the first time.
Jeez.
Well, she's Hispanic. She's a certified nurse, a CNA who makes $11 an hour. She's never flown an airplane. You go to AT Still in Midwestern, it looks like a new car lot, and ask him, in dental school with this 300, how many times did those student loans buy an airplane ticket to a vacation?
Right.
I mean, they're crazy. I mean, and that's why the ones who are crushing it are humble, because they listen to guys like you, and they hustle. And before, I've told you this 8 million thousand trillion times, before you buy a laser, before you buy a chairside milling, before you buy a CBCT, when everybody I know that's placed over 10,000 implants hit the 10,000 mark on a 2D pano, okay, without a surgical guide. Oh, but you have to have the $100,000 CBCT, blah, 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 blah. The number one return on investment is the consultant. And I don't even care which consultant it is, because everybody at my age, everybody crushing at 2 to 4 million, they've tried every consultant known to man over 30 years, because you might come in and teach me some capacity. You might come in and teach some scheduling. I mean, everybody I know in the $2 to $4 million mark says, shit, if I paid someone, I've never paid a consultant $50,000 where I did earn that $50,000 back and $1 more that very year. And they always reduced my stress because they solved the problems. So I'm doing everything faster, easier, higher quality, lower cost. And the more consultants I buy, the less stress I have, the more it runs like a Swiss clock, and I get rich. And what's your answer to that? Well, I'm a doctor. I know everything. I know everything. I don't have a doctor of dental surgery. I have a DOE. I have a doctor of everything. I'm the smartest guy in the room. Even when I'm at a Cardinals football game, I'm the smartest guy in the world. And oh my God, I don't get me started. But back to money. How much is your service? What does it cost? Contracts, fees? We're
$2,500 a month.
$2,500 a month, with or without a contract?
We have a contract, but after 3 months, they can give us a 30-day notice, and they're gone.
So
I'm the only guy that I know
So
of.
then you're locked in for $10,000. Because if
Right.
you're $2,500 a month, 3 months, then I
you
put
go, right. Yes.
$10,000.
And so what I want is give it a shot. And rarely do people leave. The ones that do are the people that really aren't going to do this stuff anyway, and they need to go somewhere else, because I don't got time for that.
And
so,
do you think dentistry is the smallest industry in the world? It's like John Cougar Mellencamp, pink houses for you and me. If you fart in dentistry, someone smells it on the other side of the convention floor. Do you think he could be in business for 38 years fixing no problems and making everyone unhappy?
And
could you do that?
No. And see, and the truth is, anything anybody comes up with, I hear about that. I mean, this community, I can go on your dental town. If I had a brand new guy and said, Greg, I want to be a consultant, I'd say, go on dental town and study like crazy, because they can learn everything they need to know. Now, when I listened to you just a minute ago, and I need to let your group know this, I've known this forever, but I want to make sure your group understands you have that capacity gene. You've always been able, see, when you sit here and say, Greg, here's why you got to get your doctors to look at that in the right way, and say, it isn't about the fee I charge, it's about how many can I do? What's my rate per minute I'm making to do those? Get faster. See, you've known, Howard, forever how to get capacity. You think like that, but that's not normally what I see in dentists. My biggest client, Dr. Buzza, that we mentioned earlier, he is the easiest guy to coach. He'll sit there and he'll think about it and he'll go, really? I need another op? I need 2 more ops?
Uh-huh.
And he's sitting there looking at that and I go, we pushed you and now, and then he'll go, so to get an associate, I need those other 2 ops.
You're the only 2 groups of people that understand capacity in dentistry, and it's for purely emotional reasons. The average dentist making $175. Average endodontist and oral surgeon are like closer to $375 to $400. And why? The dentist's like, well, that's because they do bigger procedures and we do. No, it's not. You know what it is? It's ego. If you are referred to me as an endodontist, all endodontists and oral surgeons have 2 extra chairs that aren't in the schedule. Because my ego is, if you send your toothaches to me, and my front desk Valerie says, well, Greg, I can't get in your emergency pay. I can't see her till tomorrow. Well, you're going to call up and call another endodontist.
Right.
And that's who he's competing with. And he's going to have an extra chair. By God, he is not going to feed that other endodontist. His ego won't allow it because he doesn't want you to ever be satisfied by another specialist. So the endodontists oral surgeons all make double the general dentist, not because the average fee is $1,000, because it just, what's the difference in an endodontist doing $1,000 an hour root canal versus you doing 4 fillings for $250 an hour? It's not that. And if you call up an endodontist and oral surgeon and say, man, I'm sorry, but I got a kid patient and she's got to be seen today, that receptionist chained, no. You cannot say no. We'll miss lunch. We'll stay late. All my oral surgeon endodontist friends routinely miss lunch, routinely stay late, because they don't want you to start another relationship with another endodontist or oral surgeon.
What's funny is dentists will easily start that other relationship, but they can't transfer that thought process to, that's what my patients do if I turn them away. It's just like, you're acting just like people, because you're people too. And your patients are people, and that's how they act. When you say no, come in 3 days or 2 weeks or whenever it is, they're going to move on to somebody else. They just go, next, and they're gone. They just quietly evaporate into another practice.
If you're the only dentist in Swamp Bucket, Oklahoma, and there ain't anybody else anywhere near, you can be a little more abusive to patients by just saying, oh, I can't get you for 2 weeks, or I can't see you until Thursday.
Yeah, rural, but
here,
they're not going to go rural. You know why? Because their dad moved all the way from India to come to this country for a better opportunity, so the millennial can't go 1 hour out of town.
Right.
His dad came 8,000 miles. The millennial's like, 8,000 miles, maybe I'll go 8 miles out of town. But my dad came 8,000 miles, so the next 3 generations don't have to do shit.
There's a part of the town that we're in, this valley. It's over on the Gilbert side. They average 540 patients as the demographics per dentist. Now,
in East Mesa?
Yeah.
Is it worse than North Scottsdale?
Yes. Because North Scottsdale has a weed out factor. They come there, and if they can't get their stuff together very quick, they'll fail fast. In Mesa, they'll stay over there, and it's actually Gilbert. But what I'm saying is
a lot of that because I've seen a lot of dentists tell me, 10% of all my dentist friends are LDS. And when they come from Utah or whatever, they'll say, well, I want to live and practice in Gilbert, even though it's a really bad decision. I know if I went to Maricopa, Eloy, or Florence, I'd crush it. But is that the LDS factor in East Mesa and Gilbert? That's the LDS factor in East Mesa.
They're willing to live there and compete on that high level because of the close proximity of the church, and being able to say, my kids go here, my kids go to this school.
Yeah, but
they will choose that over.
But from Gilbert, which probably 60% Mormon. They call it South Utah.
Right.
How long of a commute is it to Maricopa?
Like an hour.
Why can't they commute an hour to drive from one dentist for $500 to one dentist for $4,000? Eloy still doesn't have a dentist.
A lot of those practices out there.
No, really. Yes.
And you know what's going to be the game changer? You know what's going to make them feel really dumb? We are on the precipice of the biggest game changer ever, which is the driverless car. So when you look at that $30,000 average new car, half of that shit is for the driver. Now it's going to be a box on 4 wheels with a GPS and a Tesla battery underneath it. And you could have your desk. You could be doing all your email and work or surfing downtown. It could be a bed. You could just go in there and get under the covers and fall asleep. And 1 hour later you hear,
wake up.
Ding, you have arrived at your location. This driverless car is going to be, and how I see it's going to be even better is all my employees that work for like Google, Facebook, Intel, that whole Google fantasy culture turned out not to be work. They're like, oh, no offices, everybody has a cubicle. It's overwhelming. You can't get anything done. You go sit down, everybody's like, hey, how's your dog? How's your wife? How's your kid? What'd you do this weekend? What are you going to do this? Let me tell you what we did this weekend. So if I live 2 hours out in the country, and I'm at home, and it's all dad, and all that stuff, get in your car, driverless, do 2 hours of all your work, then you get to Intel, have your staff meetings be interrupted 1,000 times, right. Then you find out what you got to do. Now you go back into your privacy, and on a 2-hour commute home, get all your work done. I think we're 5-10 years away for lots of people saying, I freaking love the hour or 2 commute. I watch a Netflix film. I get all my email done.
Right.
I get all this shit done. Oh my God! Even at my own office, when they walk in the morning, it's like the talkers. It's like they almost need to be there an hour early because they're going to come in and tell you everything about last night, what they watch. And they're social animals. Primates are social animals, and they have a huge need to talk. Mm-hmm. And when you're talking to me, I ain't working.
Right.
And then you go home, and your kid wants to tell you about something. You can't say, "Can you just shut up? I've been talking all day." So yeah, I think a lot of people who bought land and building and built these dental offices in Glendale and Gilbert and East Mesa, North Scottsdale, now they own that Taj Mahal. When that driverless car comes out, they're going to say, Eloy still doesn't have a dentist.
Right.
How could you go to Gilbert or North Scottsdale when Eloy doesn't have a dentist?
And see, if somebody came saying, well, Greg, you live in Arizona, where should I set up practice? I would look at the demographic and say, not in Gilbert, not in Scottsdale. You know what I'm saying? Because there's so many. Not in Tempe. Tempe's got too many. I'm just saying I would find that place where it has about 15 to 2,000 people.
You know how you find it? You know how you find that place? You go to who's the people pushing all these dental therapists in Congress, trying to get these dental therapists to go to the underserved areas.
Small county.
It's Pew.
Yeah.
It's Pew Trust. You go to Pew Trust. This is a gazillion-dollar nonprofit. They have all the data on all the counties of the underserved area that they're pushing the legislation. So you should go to the Pew Trust and say, okay, they're lobbying in all 50 states to get dental therapists because there's no dentists in these spots. And they got all the counties color-coded. And it's like, that's where you need to go. That's where you need to go. And then you're like, well, I don't want to go there. Well, here's what I've seen. I see dentists go to those areas, work 4 10-hour days, crush it, then Thursday night getting their $100,000 black Porsche they bought in cash because they're so rich, and drive down to Newport Beach where they have a condo on the beach. Yeah. Whereas the dentists who practice in Newport never go to the beach because they're broke, and they live 3 days a week like they're a rock star. Then they drive back to Shitville and crush it. 4 10-hour days where there's a dentist for every 7,000. I just talked to a kid the other day on the phone that found a small town of 1,800 with no dentist, and it was 2 hours out of the big town. And what he didn't realize is that until he set up practice, that basically that little it was smaller than a county, but I think it was a county. Actually didn't have a dentist. There's 6,700 people. He thought he was going to town 1,800, but there's 6,700 people that don't have a dentist. No insurance. He's charging $1,500 for a crown. He is the highest fee schedule I know. No Medicaid, no Medicare, no nothing. I think the guy the first year did $1 million and took home $340 1 year out of dental school. Mm-hmm. What's his chance of doing that in Gilbert?
He won't. He just can't.
Yeah.
There's not enough. It's too overpacked. And what's interesting, Howard, I remember early on in my career, a dentist invited me out. He was in Little Rock, Arkansas. And anyway, I get out there. I land at the airport. It was raining like crazy outside, and we're driving down through Little Rock, and I'm thinking, what the hell, who wants to live here? And I thought I was a bit uppity because I'm thinking, well, why don't you live out in Arizona where it's like not raining all the time? And I just thought, this is an ugly place. And I went to his practice, and it was downtown. And it was pretty rough. But he was doing good. I mean, the money was good because I'd already done all the stats before. And I'm thinking, man, what's the matter with this guy? So anyway, that night, he says, Greg, come on home. We're going to have dinner at our house. So I get in the car with him. He drives home. He drives about 30 minutes away. We go through a gated community. He punches in the code. The gates open up. And we come over this little rise, and there's a beautiful lake, and here's all these homes around the lake. We pull in. It's a gorgeous home. His wife's got the barbecue going. We got out there. We had some dinner. We watched the come up lake, and I go, damn, I could live here. When before I was going, who in their right mind would live here? So what it proved to me was a couple of things. One, if you're living anywhere and you got money, you could get the lifestyle. And even if it was that I would drive to Ajo and get an apartment to stay a couple of nights and did my 3 days, 4 days, and then went back home to a different community, most people don't think that way. And so, again, what we're always competing with is the thought process of somebody who doesn't get it. And so, I'm just overstoked at the fact of how capacitized you are, to use a word that isn't a word.
You know who taught me capacity? So I'm born and raised in Wichita, Kansas, 7 kids. Dad delivers rainbow bread for like $11 an hour. Just so damn poor. We were so damn poor, none of the kids knew we were poor. Saved his money, bought a Sonic franchise. Eventually had 9 Sonics. His friend from the same Catholic church was Dan Carney, founder of Pizza Hut. And I thought of him because you said Little Rock. I can still remember going to the White River. I think it's where the White River meets the Brown River. Anyway, it's 2 rivers meet in Arkansas. I think it's the White River. Does that ring a bell?
No.
And anyway, so there we are, catching trout, then breading them and frying them. And there's Dan Carney, founder of Pizza Hut, and there's some Sonic guys. I think Roger Carpenter's there, Jim Williams, my dad, some Dwayne, somebody. And Dan was explaining to everybody that, when he puts in a Pizza Hut, he's got about $700,000 in for him. He's got to buy the land, the building, the little Pizza Hut building. And it'll do it costs about $700,000, and it'll net about $70,000 a year at a 10% return asset. But what he figured out is every time, everybody eats the flow. You're not making a car every hour on the hour. They all flow in at lunch. So you got $700,000, and it's got 20 tables. And the process was your labor, your number one cost would seat you, take your drink order, go get your drinks, come back, then take your food order, and then take that to the cooks. They cook it up, then you get your food about 45 minutes after the hour, then you would eat it, and then you go home. So you got $700,000 in a Pizza Hut, and you flip 20 tables one time during lunch. So they kept adding up the tickets, dividing it by the number of people, and they kept coming back to it's about $2.90 an average. So it was actually not Dan Carney. It was actually his wife, Beverly, that figured this out. She goes, well, let's do this. Let's change the operation logistics. So when you come in, seat yourself, no labor. There's your drinks. Go make your own drinks. And we'll have a buffet, all you can eat, $2.99. So now people would just walk in, they go set their purse down on the table, they go make their own Coke, Dr. Pepper, mix it all up, go get all, they think they're going to game the system by eating all this food when their food cost was always 31%. But they would all eat and be gone in a half an hour, and that's when the flow's there, so they'd reload 20 tables, so they're basically just got a free $700,000 Pizza Hut without making a Pizza Hut. So you go in these dental offices where they got 2-3 extra rooms. I don't have time to break down this room and clean it and set up the next room. I'm just going to leave this one get dirty. Just set her in the next room. And then after a big freaking rush, they go back. They got 3-4 rooms completely trashed with all these instruments. And then you go into a dental office and it's a routine procedure. It's a root canal. It's a filling extraction. And 3 times during the procedure, the assistant has to get up and leave the room. Why the frick are you leaving the room? Well, we only have one of these, and we need like 5 of them. It's like, well, okay, the doc gets 35%, you get 25, lab gets 10, splice 6, mortgage 5. Frickin', you can't leave the room. When I'm gonna get a tumor removed off my frickin' brain and a bypass And I don't want the doctor, scrub nurse, to have to leave 3 times and fetch something out of the auto. They don't know their costs. Another big, huge, stupid thing is Southwest Airlines, every plane is the same. They're all 737-300s. You go in the hygiene room, and you're on a PPO cleaning. They're giving me $55 for a cleaning, and the damn hygienist makes $40. So then he has a little filling, patient-centric, not patient-centric. Hey, you got a little filling. You want us to knock that out now? Let's do it now. And 99% of dental offices, well, you can't do it in my room. You have to move you got to go set up another room and move the patient. And, well, why? Well, this room doesn't have one thing, and it's like, no. And then you'll tell the hygienist, no, every room's a 737-300. If I come in here and I want to stay and knock out a quick filling because you're losing $15 an hour out of my back freaking pocket, and if I do 1 filling a day, we're in the black and I'm making money, and she'll say, well, this is my room. Really? This is your room? Imagine getting on a plane at Southwest Airlines and the pilot gets on the plane and says, I'm sorry, this is not my plane. My plane's 2 hours out. I'm going to ask everybody to get off the plane and unload the luggage and move all the shit down there, because in this drawer is supposed... Every room, every drawer, everything's the same. I walk in any operatory, pull drawer 3, same damn shit. Everything's a 737-300. Right. And if a hygienist tells me this is my room, you know what? You are not walking in this room again for 30 frickin' days because you fell in love with a room. I mean, you don't even have sex with it. You platonically, pervertedly, you're so frickin' out of your mind that you fell in love with. So I can't be Southwest Airlines and have you say, well, we fly that plane because it has a Garfield on it, and my room has a picture of my granddaughter in it. I tell them, if you got to bring in a picture of your newborn, bloody, rat, jaundiced baby, bring in frickin' 8 of them, because that baby only looks good to you and a shark. No one else wants to look at it, okay? So if you got to look at that bloody newborn, put 8 of them in there. And these are all operations logistics things. And their answer to that is, I don't need to listen to you 3 idiots. I'm gonna go take a bone grafting course in the Dominican Republic.
Right.
Because
okay.
That's the future of dentistry. It's more bone grafting.
Yeah, keep bone grafting your way to success. So how do these guys contact you? How do they get help?
Well, if they'll go to the website, which is capacitymanagement.com. So just think of capacity. We're a management team, so capacitymanagement.com. It'll take you to our website. There's contact us, gives you the phone numbers, gives us what we do. It'll go through and you can look at some of the programs. But more importantly, I would encourage people to contact us, and we always stand ready to do a 30-minute consult. The purpose of that is so a doctor can get on and say, Greg, here's
how much is a 30-minute consult?
It's no charge. I've done that my entire career. So if a person sent in us their basic stats, just 6 months at numbers, I can look at that and it tells me what we need to see, and I can say, it appears to me this is your key blockage. Now, if they roll with that and want to do business with us, then we can take that step. So if I have, in any one given month, let's say I have 25 people contact us to do business with us. It is true that maybe 4 or 5 a month will sign up. The others got fabulous information. They just weren't compelled to need my help all the time.
That's because they really need a laser.
That's probably true.
Right.
Which stands for losing all savings equals reality.
Right. So what we do, and Bill is real intricate in that, and I've always said about Bill, he's the smartest guy I know in dentistry. He knows more about practice building than most other consultants. These guys that have never been a consultant, they don't know dentistry, and 2 years later, they're running a big dental firm, but they've never been in a practice, ever. And so what I'm saying is, with the tools we have, I can spot the blockage, we can send them on their way, and Dr. Farran, we can get people to grow. And I know how I make my money. We get paid when the doctor takes home more money. So all of those things, anything that has to do with growing a practice, whether it be scheduling or whether it be what kind of staff do you need, is it time to move out of that facility and go to another one to get the capacity you need? Nothing gets in the way of finding the right blockage, giving them capacity, and the practice just grows. It always has. It's not rocket science to us. It's just following the systems. And you have that capacity gene
What's
I've known
what's
forever.
your number? You said they can call you for a free consult. What's your number?
480-832-1546.
That's 480-832-1546. Do you give out your email?
Yes.
What is that?
It's Greg Jack.
Greg Jack?
Uh-huh.
Greg Jack or Gregory Jack?
Just Greg Jack.
Greg Jack
At
at
capacitymanagement.com.
And if you can't remember Greg Jack, you can send an info at Capacity Management.
Right.
How do they reach you?
Same info.
And what's info at Capacity Management? And what's your personal email?
Bill at capacitymanagement.com.
Thank you so much.
And our capacity is that if anybody makes contact with us and wants to do that consult, we get them done, and then they choose what direction they want to go after that. But we're there. We've been there for years.
You know, another way to get amazing information, a lot of dentists are sitting there thinking, you know, sometimes I think I should sell my practice, or sometimes I think maybe I should sell my practice Harlan. Just do it, because it's like when you go to sell your house. The real estate agent comes out here, they do an examination. They say, okay, we can't even put this in the market until you do all these freaking repairs. You know, almost everybody I know
where you're going.
I know almost everybody I know thought, you know, I've been thinking about selling my practice to Harlan. I said, do it. Call them right now, because number one, they're not going to buy your practice, and number two, they're going to tell you all the freaking reasons why. And then they'll say, and if you fix all this shit, maybe we will buy it. So I'm telling you, before you get a laser, before you get chairside milling, before you get a CBCT, god dang, get your house in order. Get poised for growth. Get rich. Then buy all the boy toys you want, and your only decision should be, should I get a chairside milling machine or a black Porsche, or if you're really going for it, a girlfriend on the side, and spend all your damn money. But thanks so much for all that you do for my home.
Thank you.